Right, so let's start. So today we have two topics on overloading and templates. And actually also we'll talk about the friend functions basically as well. So actually three topics, you could say, related topics. They go together, but they're of course different. So overloading is something which makes C++ very customizable. But also sometimes badly used overloading can lead to trouble. Basically makes your code, you can make your code quite unreadable, right? If you go over the board with overloading. Again, so that's why on a midterm, if you know overloading, you can add it, you can use it, but it's not required at all for the grade, right? For the highest grade. But yeah, so but this is of course part of the standard. So again, gives us. So the main idea is that we can create our own class. Basically, you have your own class, let's say a point class, right? And you define a plus symbol. If you remember how we did this analogy is with Python, right? We have these dunder functions, right? And we can define our own add, right? Same kind of something similar goes with C++, right? We have some sort of structure, we have a class maybe, or the structure template, right? And again, blueprint, right? And we define it some operations, right? With a prettier syntax, right? So we learned how to do it today, hopefully, right? And also the second part of the lecture will be about templates, which deals with classes when we don't know the specific data type, generic data types, basically, right? So we'll learn how to make templates as well, right? So templates for generic code, right? So function template, simpler function overloading. Okay, so here's the idea, right? You have your own data structure called clock or clock type, right? And assuming it's class or structure, doesn't matter, right? So this is how you would do it normally, right? My clock print time, my clock increment seconds, right? And also you have equality, right? You have two clocks, right? Two different objects created from this class, right? And how would you compare, right? So, meaning these have member functions, or three member functions, completely legal. The alternative, basically, overloading will let you do this, basically, right? So instead of print time, you have overload this operator, right? And you can use this, basically, right? Because otherwise, by default, C++ will not know how to print a clock, right? You have to use this, right? Same as increment, right? Again, plus plus is not defined by default for your clock type, right? And similarly, equality is not defined for clock type. What is defined? Remember, copy, right? So assignment and member selection, that's all you have. So C++ is really bare bones, right? You don't get any extras. Many other languages give you lots of extra things, extra goodies, like, for example, equality, like Java and some other things. You can compare classes, right, objects. But other operators you cannot do directly. So you have to extend definition, right? So you can extend almost anything that's built in, right? So most existing C++ operators can be overloaded to manipulate these objects, right? But you cannot create new ones out of blue, right? So operator function, the function overloads an operator, right? We use a special word, operator, on basically, as a function name. Follow the operator as a function name. Look at an example here, right? Oh, again, so syntax, this is not very, this is correct, but it's not very visible. We'll look at an example, right? So we cannot change anything else, right? We cannot change your precedence, associativity, we cannot change, which is good, right? And default parameters cannot be used. That's when I kind of remember. You cannot change number of parameters, cannot create new operators, cannot overload dot. You cannot overload. I guess, thank goodness, you cannot, right? You cannot use those. Cannot be overloaded, which is good, I guess, right? So basically, this is all syntactic sugar, right? Syntactic sugar. It's for making our lives easier, right? So well done overloading is good. It's a pleasure. Then you have nice, easy to use objects, right? However, badly done, right? You do add two objects together, right? And you have launch nuclear weapon, right? It's possible, right? To write code like that, right? But you shouldn't, right? So now, right? So Also, of course, pointer this. We'll talk about that in a moment, right? So, when an object invokes member function, this is referenced by member function, right? So, member functions have access to the object, right? To which is invoking this member function, right? So, we'll see also there is something called a friend function. We'll get to that in a moment, right? So, let's do a clock. Let's go back to our clock. Let's see if we can implement this, right? So, let's see. If we can go to our, where's my repository? Let me open up a code space right here, our code repository. Code spaces, my cuddly space fork. See if GitHub is workable today. All right. Looks like it's still loading. Are we good? Are we good? Pretty good. All right, yeah, good to go. So I'll start overloading. Overloading CPP. Right. So do I have to, I have to start, of course, extensions as usual. All right, let's reload all our extensions. So we have to load the virtual environment. This. Oh yeah, okay, so new file. Okay, good. All right. So I'll close this. Oh, no, this one, sorry. All right. So, no, I don't want to ask, not yet. I don't want to ask Copilot. Come on, okay. Let's explore operator overloading. Overloading in C++. First, we include the extreme, right, using namespace, right? Let's define clock class. All right. Let's see, what do we want? We want it to have hours, minutes, seconds. It will have 3 attributes. Hour, minute, second. Okay, that sounds good. What else do you want? That can be one. The time we will want the constructor. Yeah, all right. For now, let's define a class. So, okay, it could be structure, but let's do a class, right? So, come on, class, right? Clock or clock type doesn't matter, right? So, what do we have here, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, something like this. So private, right? So private means, of course, hours, minutes, second are not directly accessible. Again, depends whether do you want it. So we have public, and we have definitely print time. Yeah, we have print time. How about increment seconds? Well, add clock. Yeah, well, that actually will be okay. We can add 2 clocks, right? And let's do increment seconds. Let's define a method to increment seconds by one. Yeah, increment second, right? And of course, incrementing seconds, right? There's even logic here, right? Increment second, if seconds over 60, right? 60, we will do minutes plus plus, in minutes over 60, hours 24. So of course, here we don't count days, right? This is of course very primitive, right? There's logic here, but of course, right, we're not counting days and so on, right? So here, right, no days to worry about, right? In this particular, right, clock. So equality, right? Finally, we want also equality. Finally, we want equal time method to compare 2 clocks, right? And bool equal. Oh, sorry. Oh, come on. We had good. So lazy. They want to do this bool. Yeah, equal time. Clock C. We pass another clock, somebody else's clock, right? And here we do something. This little trick, right? Remember how we compare? We don't, we're lazy. Since we are returning a boolean, we basically this is a boolean, right? At and, right? This is Boolean, 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 3 Booleans and operation, right? That's Boolean. So you don't need any ifs, right? So very typical. If you have bool, you can return already some sort of whatever of Boolean expression we have, right? So, all right. So that's so far no overloading is happening at the moment. So we will do this now int main, right? Int main, right? For now on, let's make two clocks. Clock 1, C1, and clock C2, right? Okay, exactly the same, right? Check, print, okay, print them, let's print the time. And print 2, right? Check, yeah, let's see, adding 2 clocks. What the heck is happening with 2 clocks? Let's see, yeah. So, a new clock, right? So, minute plus minute, so let's see how this works. So, hour plus hour, right? We add second plus seconds. If it's over 60, well, yeah, we add 1 minute and we take 60 off. Okay, okay, that works. So now we add 2 minutes together. If they go over 60, we add an hour, right? And well, how about an hour, right? We probably want to add this too, right? And now add, yeah, right? Over, well, if it's over 24, can we? Well, I don't like this lot. This is kind of bad. Not bad, but it's wrong in a way. How should we do this hour? Hour, I think it's easier. How should we do is hour is a reminder. So no, well, 24 hours. Well, we have 2 hours. It's 23 hours, 23 hours, right? So we have 46 hours. We don't want to show that, right? So clock, right? So we want only, right, so this would be hour exactly, right? Reminder 24, right? And we solve it, we don't need the if, right? We just do a reminder, right? Okay, if it's 24, we'll get 0. So if it is 24, we get 0, and 25, we get, and so on. Okay, we fix that, right? Again, of course, depends, maybe you want to count hours to keep adding hours, right? But assuming this is normal clock, right? So this is all good, right? We can add 2 hours. Let's add 2 clocks, C3, right? C1, add 2 clock, and we can print time, and let's compare, let's compare C1 and the C2 clocks, right? That's going to be Boolean. Our first 2 clocks are equal, right? Yeah, okay. Now increment time. Let's increment second clock, right? That works. And of course print time. And finally compare the clocks again. Of course should be false. Okay. And again, this is just regular class things we did last week and the previous week, right? Class-based approach, right? I can of course, again, the idea is you make these member functions, and we can basically, they work, right? They work. They should be ideally should be done here below here, right? You don't have to define them in the class directly. You can just declare them, right? But okay, we have a nice little, what you call constructor, right? Okay, so we're good to go. I hope it looks pretty good to me, right? So maybe there's some errors, but it looks pretty decent. Let's do all on overloading, and we output 2 clocks or something. I don't know. Right. Okay, compiled, and yes. Okay, give me 0, 1, right? So 1, right? So of course, 1 being 1, right? So this is when you add 12, 35, 45, you get 130. That sounds about right, I guess. And of course, it's 12, 30, 46, right? Because that's midnight. So yeah, that works, right? Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So far, so good, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, so now we of course get to the part we want to do is we want to overload all this good stuff, right? So what can we start with overloading? Let's see, can we do equality? Yeah, let's overload equality. And the issue is here that the difficulty is that sometimes you the overloads you want to actually be not member functions, but you want actually so-called friend functions, meaning they are functions outside the class, but they are friends, meaning they get to see inside all the dirty stuff you have. Like you share all your dirty secrets with your friends, right? It's your friend. They know they can access all the attributes your objects have, basically. Meaning, in this particular case, all of this will be accessible by the friend function. Okay, but let's see the detail. Okay, so let's do this. Now let's overload something. Now let's overload some things, some operators. How about plus? This will be clock operator, return add clock. That looks okay. So notice clock, right? That's a type. Is this required? No. I mean, basically, right? So this is, you can see this exactly syntax sugar, right? Clock C, right? And now we can use this plus symbol, no, right? We will be able now. Yeah, this is binary operator, of course, right? Plus is binary operator in this case. Okay, that looks okay to me. Let's taste it, right? Let's taste it. So instead of this, right? Let's taste it. Yes, it should work the same way, right? Again, just syntactic sugar, right? But it's nicer, I think, because we instinctively understand C1 plus C2, right? In fact, I think if you look at the Python classes, right? I mean, it's often used. So here, I think it makes sense. The plus defined, right? But again, if you're adding two houses, right? When I teach Python, I usually teach, adding two house objects. I mean, it might make sense, it might not make sense, right? Adding two people together, I don't know, right? What happened then, right? So on, so on, and so on, right? So sometimes this addition is not very logically defined. Let's see if I can compile this. Yeah, compiled. And can I run it? Everything works, right? Yeah, I have the new object, right? Okay. So let's look at the syntax again. So operator, right, plus clock C, right? So I pass, okay, so does it have to be C? Of course it doesn't have to be C. It could be, a Z or whatever, right? Obviously, the details, the C is just the name of the parameter, basically, right? But, so, in this particular case, since add clock returns a clock, right? That's what we are using, right? Okay. So did this make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So who has overload operators before? Anyone? Okay. Do you want to do this on a midterm? You can. You can if it makes things your code nicer, sure, but you don't have to, right?
Well, actually, technically in Java, I think I have overloaded.
Yeah.
But I've written the compare to method to compare specific objects.
Yeah. So the thing is, if I remember correctly, again, I don't do much Java, but Java has some equality. It has something equality and built in something, some sort of equality equals to or something is built in. I don't remember exactly, but of course you may want to overload it, and you have to maybe define your own equality, right? So now let's do this. Now let's do increment first. Now let's do increment. Now let's okay, it's a by operator. Yeah. So same thing. So operator, what it is, and again we give something else, external. So again, so simple, right? Extremely simple. When done well, because of course you don't try to reinvent the wheel, right? Obviously, you could have done this, right? Of course, you could have done this. I mean, you could have, right? You could have written your own logic here, but then it would be redundant, right? And so I would say, again, you have to read on best practices, but this makes sense to have your own member function first, right, and then overload it, right? Because again, of course, nothing is stopping you from deciding that you're only going to compare hours. That's the danger with this, right? You could, right? I mean, yeah, you could have chosen different comparison strategy, but then the danger, yeah, right? So in this case, I think it's you basically work on this, and then the overloading is just like a little extra thing. So I think this is the best approach, right? So you overload something, so use something existing in your member functions, and basically you had made your life easier, right? So in fact, that's how many modern languages, of course, have this overloading built in for many things, right? So, okay, so let's look at comparison. So we should comparison. So this is, right? Shift Alt arrow, right? And I will do this, right? Now I can do this, right? C1 to C2, all right? And that also is pretty nice, right? Also, again, right? And what does it doesn't like something? So because y doesn't like it. All right. So this might be a problem because this is a boolean. The questions might be a precedence, right? Let's take a look, right? Well, maybe because not compiled it. Let's see. This might be a problem. We'll see if this is actually works or not. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe I need to do a friend. Let's take a look. Maybe the AI is not so smart today. There's potential problem with this. Let's see C1. Let's see 2. Right? Clock. Well, it's not compiled yet. The operator. Maybe it's not picking up. The plugin is not picking up. Let's take a look. This is right. And we will see if we need to do something about this equality. It looks okay, but let's compile it. Nope. No, we do not have a problem. So we have a problem. So I think it's a problem of press. Okay. I think we need to do this, I believe, right? Let's see if this works. Yeah, okay. So it's a question of precedence, right? Yeah. So this is not really, I believe you compare anything, right? You need to put them in parentheses, right? So it's a question of precedence, right? We have to use parentheses. Yeah, because why? Because otherwise what happened, what was the issue? It will try to output, right? And it does not exist, first of all, which we will fix, right? But still will not solve the issue, right? So you see why, so yeah, you save some, a little bit of time, but you do have to use this, equality is not as important as, doesn't have the precedence as output, right? So let's try it now. Let's overload, sure, no problem. And we can run, yes, everything works. Right, so, okay, so we have next operator, right? So, now let's see if we get to the increment, second increment. Now, finally, let's add increment. Yeah, this is unary operator, right? So, void operator plus increment second. All right, now, right, easy, right? We just call it. Piece of cake, right? It's a void operator, right? So we don't have to return anything, right? We don't need another object, right? We are using self, right? So this, right? So let's take a look. Now we can add this here, right? Now, right? I'll add one more, C2, right? Plus, right? So same type, same as. Right. So question, why doesn't it like it? Maybe there is something. It should work. Let's see if this is actually done. Let's compile it and see why the plugin doesn't like it. Nope.
By putting it in the parentheses again, maybe.
Oh, post. No, the thing is, it's maybe a prefix. Maybe this is the question is this? Yeah, this is a problem. Issue is maybe I defined the prefix operator. Maybe this is I did done. I think maybe I did this. Yeah, I think. No? Yes. Okay. Right. So this will be how to get the other one. Right. So I defined the prefix that I've defined the prefix. Okay, we'll see. So again, so things of course get kind of complicated once you start getting more. Right. So. Right, so plus. Now it compiles and now it works. It's 47. We added 2 seconds. Second here, second here. Right. Okay, that's good. Now, could we do plus equal operator? Right. Well, first of all, let's do prefix postfix. Let's define postfix plus. Okay, is that it? Doesn't look right. Apparently, let's see if this is really correct. You see that sometimes C++ is just weird, right? Because, okay, I guess yes, make kind of sense. Why do we have int here? I don't know. Let's see, now, can I do it one more? Let's try this. C2, can I do this? Apparently I can. Postfix, yeah. But why this is again, why is int, right? Postfix, overloading postfix. Let's look at the C++ reference. C++ reference, overloading postfix ++, yeah. So operator overloading, right? This might be a good reference for you to check out, right? The syntax, right? You can overload all of these that can be overloaded. Even this can be overloaded. But basically, you can even overload parentheses, right? Even these are allowed to be overloaded, right? So statically overload, right? No. So restrictions, those are not allowed, right? You cannot create new ones. But I want to see is where? Okay, 40 places. So. Yeah, this is kind of, okay. Okay, incrementation, okay. Yeah, posting, yeah, so, well, I guess that's how you do it. I don't know, integer, right? So it's it's just, I guess, it's a syntax. Well, again, I can't think of why does integer signify that it's a postfix, right? Well, somebody made a language committee decide that's how you do it. Okay, right? Note that in, yeah, all right. All right, here I'll give you a link here. Operators. Right. All right. So now everything works. Let's compile. It should be 48 now, right? 48. Overloaded, and we run it. Yeah, it is 48. Okay, so everything works. Okay. Now, so there's a concept, right, before the break, right, is that a friend function, right? Meaning it basically has access to the class, but is not part of the class. Basically, it has class privates. So private access, right? So, right, overload equality function must be a member of the class, right? But let's see the friend, right? Plus, it can be overloaded for rectangle type, friend type, or class. But let's see how to do the friend operation, right? Operator. So this we can make a this operator would multiply, right? Algorithm. So friend. So let's make a friend. Now let's make a friend function that prints. Now let's make a friend function that prints the time. Yeah. So friend. Right. So this is. So in this case, right, we are passing a O stream, right, and the clock, right. So this is how you make your using operator, right. So that's why you need the friend, basically, right, because you are not using directly. So this is kind of ugly looking syntax, right. So we have access to O stream, clock, right, and we can do whatever. So well, the thing is, okay. So here we have C. Could we do a print, right? C out, right? This is standardized, right? Here, well, we do it. Could we skip that part, I wonder? C, we are returning this, so we have to return it, right? So we have to return this stream, right? So note we can't really. We would like to use this. I don't think we can, right? Not the way we intended to print time. We can't quite use. We can't. Note we can't quite use the print time Yeah, it turns to yeah. So that we have to return this stream, right? Here we return. You can check because otherwise, that's what the issue is, right? We want the stream. We want to keep streaming, right? We want to keep streaming, right? Otherwise, we'll break the stream basically, right? It won't work correctly, right? So here, right, we have the stream, right, and then we can do whatever we want, right? In this particular case, of course, this is up to you. Of course, what you want to output to stream is up to you, right? So note again. So this function is not part, right? So friend, right? When you define friend inside the class, of course you can define it afterwards later, right? And let's take a look now. So now we can print time. Now we can also output, right? So this is nicer, right? Nicer, isn't it? Right? Let's take a look. Of course, with slightly different format, right? Again, we could not do this before because we had not defined. So this syntax, right? So slightly, again, very careful, of course, references, right? Clock, right? Of course, again, it could be any. The C, of course, is not important, right? Type is important, of course, right? So we define. So of course. So it's you define your friends in your blueprint. You say, okay, which functions are going to be my friends? All right. So we're going to take a break. If this compiles, hopefully this defines, and it compiles correctly, and we can do clocks. And yes, indeed, in this particular case, the result is exactly the same, right? Of course, it's up to us. So here's a slight issue: is of course the print time. Of course, is not. We can't really define, this in terms of. We could say maybe something which prepares this, this part here, right? Maybe we could call a function here which returns a string, basically. That could be a possibility if you want to use something existing, right? That might be something we can refactor after the break. Okay, let me commit this, right? Overloading clocks. I'm going to ignore, and let's commit overloading. Oh, overloading with friends. Yeah, nice. All right. And we will stop the recording for this for now. Any questions so far on overloading? It's nice, but